Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. This will be the last video of chapter 3. Okay, in this video, what we're going to look at is actually define electronegativity and explain the variation in electronegativity of element. Besides that, I'm going to explain the acid-base character of oxides in period 3. And last but not least, what we're going to do is we will be discussing the summary of chapter 3. Okay, so your notes will be on page 16. Okay, 15. Okay, what is actually electronegativity? It is a measure of ability of an atom to attract electron to itself when chemically combined with another atom. Okay, so first one, let's look for the case of across a period. Okay, so for the case of across a period, if you still remember, across the period, usually we're talking about our pizzas. Okay, so across the period, the proton number will increase. So what will happen is that the effective nuclear charge increase. So the attraction between the nucleus and the valence electron increase. So what happens is that the ability of the atom to attract electron pun increase lah. Sebab the attraction between the nucleus and valence tu maknanya the effective nuclear charge tu is high. So what happens is that it is able to attract electron to itself. So ability of the atom to attract itself pun increase. So electronegativity increase. Okay, so usually the most famous one adalah yang ini pun kita akan tengok banyak lah chapter 3 dan chapter 4 nanti. Okay, increasing across the period. In period 2 is actually C, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. Okay, so this is actually across the period. Okay, so usually what we talk about, yang north ni ataupun kita buat phone ni is actually an electronegative atom. Okay, why do we mention about the electronegative atom? Because actually the ability to attract electron itself tu is high lah. Fluorine, oxygen and nitrogen. So fluorine kan charge dia F-, oxygen 2-, and ni 3-. So ability to attract electrons to itself tu is high. Especially ni fluorine ni kan. Fluorine ni is actually kiranya 2s2, 2p7. 2p5. When we're comparing these four atoms, it has the highest proton number and the ZEF. So that's why kalau kiranya fluorine ni is more, kiranya sini will become increasing electronegativity. So this is for the case of across a period. Okay, next is actually down the group. Down the group ni usually we talk about ANSAs. Okay, now what happens that down the group the number of shell increase, so shielding effect pun increase. The attraction between the nucleus and the valence electron to decrease. Okay, remember sebab kiranya between our nucleus dengan yang valence shell tu kan, lagi banyak shell tu. So maknanya the attraction tu will become weaker lah. So ability of the atom to attract electron pun decrease. That the electronegativity decrease. Okay, usually for down the group, electronegative ni we will mention about our group 17. So contohnya group 17 ni, down the group the fluorine, chlorine, bromine, what would happen is that the electronegativity decrease. So usually ni kalau down the group ni we talk about group 17 lah. Sebab it only needs one more electron kan for it to achieve octet kan. Okay. So that is for your electronegativity. Memang tak banyak pun. There's not so much of info that we're going to be discussing about our electronegativity. Okay, last is actually our oxides of period 3. Okay, so kita punya in period 3, ni oxide dia kan. Dia punya atom is actually here. Okay, atom dia, first one is actually sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine. From group 1 until group group 1 until group 17. Okay, and then on period in the period 3 memang tidak ada d orbital pun. There's no d block. So this is actually the elements in period 3. So this is actually the oxide lah. Bila dia form, dia react dengan oxygen, so it will form this. Okay, how do we get here? Contohnya Na2O ni kan. Na plus dengan O2 minus. So that's why we get Na2O. Magnesium ni pula Mg2 plus dengan O2 minus. So we get MgO. Okay, so this is the reaction between the oxides with water, okay, with an acid and with a base. Okay. Okay, for yang oxide ni tak banyak pun nak explain. It's just that it is important for you to know that for the sodium and magnesium is actually a basic oxide. We consider it is basic oxide. Okay, why do mention it is actually basic oxide? Because it will react with acid, but it does not have any reaction with a base. So bila dia react dengan acid tu dah form water kan. So this is actually we call our sodium and magnesium as basic oxide. Kalau aluminium as amphoteric oxide. Okay, amphoteric ni maksudnya it is both acid and base. Dia ada both of the characteristic acid and base. Okay, and that's why dia boleh react dengan acid and base. Okay, and last but not least is between the silicon until our chlorine is what we call as acidic oxide, and it will react with our base. So yang ni, this is actually our base lah. So itu sahaja untuk chapter 3. Dah habis lah, sekejap je video ni. Tapi yang last but not least, habis lagi Miss nak buat summary chapter for your chapter 3 ni. So we have learned about the block, the group and period. Okay, kalau kat sini I'm just gonna write down yang atas sekali ni. Macam biasa je lah Okay, we want to determine the position of the atom in your periodic table. First we have to look at your period. Period ni why? Sebab kita nak tahu yang the highest end. Lepas tu next kita akan tengok block. Block ni is quite straightforward sahaja. And last but not least is actually our group. Okay, group ni kita kena tengok valence electron. Contohnya, if it's actually our group tu in S block, okay, so tambahkan electron on S sahaja to determine the group, which mostly the group 1 and 2. Okay, kalau dia adalah element in P block, so if it's in P block, what you're gonna add is actually add electron on S and on P, and you're gonna add 10. So which means it will starting from group 13 until lah group 8. But now this is D block. Kalau D block, it's actually nak tahu group dia, you're gonna add electron on S orbital dengan D orbital. There's no need to add 10. So it's starting from group 3 until group 12. So this is actually about the position of the element lah. Next, what we're gonna talk about is actually about our radius. Okay, so kalau for our radius, okay, how about, okay, kita buat trend Okay, first I'm gonna write down color orange lah. Color orange ni is actually about our radius, atomic radius. Okay, so down the group, atomic radius kita akan increase.
Macam atomic radius increase.
Okay, kenapa? Ingat kita punya ansas. For the, alah, Miss nak padam lah yang apa ni. I'm gonna delete lah kiranya yang F block ni. Kalau across a period, okay, so I'm talking about across a period, atomic radius decrease. Okay, why? Because of our pizas. Okay, first tadi kita pasal atomic radius, ionic radius, so it's fine. Okay, trend apa lagi kita belajar is actually ionization energy. Okay, ionization energy. Ionization energy, okay, down the group, the ionization energy will decrease. So, kiranya, kalau down the group, ionization energy decrease. Okay, why? Because down the group, the shielding effect increase. So, bila shielding effect increase, what happen is the attraction between the valence electron tu dengan dengan nucleus tu is low. So, it is easier to remove our electron. So, that's why ionization energy decrease down the group. Yang ni buat decrease lah, mesti tulis ke bawah. Tapi kalau across a period, our ionization energy will become ionization energy increase. Okay, so kenapa the increase? Sebab across the period, the attraction between our nucleus dengan valence so high. So it is harder to remove the valence electron. Okay, so kiranya next trend that we'll look at is actually our electronegativity. Electronegativity down the group pun decrease juga. Why? Because actually the ability to attract electron tu is very low lah. Okay, because the attraction between the nucleus tu pun sangat weak, so it is harder to attract electrons toward itself. So electronegativity pun sini akan decrease down the group. For our across the period, dia terbalik pula. Electronegativity increase across the period because the ZEF is high, so it is ability to attract itself, ability of the atom to attract electron is also high. Okay, so that is actually the summary lah. Okay, lepas tu, okay, so that's the trend and that is the position. Ada sikit-sikit lagi yang ion semua tu, I believe kalau kamu nak buat tambah lagi pun boleh juga. But this is the trend that we talk about. Mostly memang kita akan tengok pada our ansatz dengan pizas. Make sure lah, remember, N ni stands for apa, S ni stands for apa, A ni stands for apa. Okay, so that's it, the last of chapter 3.